imagine, let's say you are like me and you have your right eye as dominant. Of course, it's easier to play with open stance because you can see here, and if you play with closed stance, your dominant eye is your right, so you're gonna play inside of the body. But in my opinion, is not your priority as a beginner, and that's why I'm making this video, because when you start, of course, in my methodology and how I play is how I feel as a player and what I experience as a coach, it's much easier to start learning with a closed stance, like doing from here. You can start doing like this step, which is really important, and then you do second double step, and you are with closed stance. And if you start learning, imagine, let's say you are like me and you have your right eye as a dominant. Of course, it's easier to play with open stance because you can see here, and if you play with closed stance, your dominant eye is your right, so you're gonna play inside of the body, which can be more difficult. But in the beginning, you are just learning. You need to understand how to move properly on court. Usually we start with medicine ball, and that's why I always like to start with closed stance. And the reason for that is, if you start learning with open stance, what happens is that people start not working properly in tennis, start to play faces to the court, start missing too many balls there, to play too many times too much cross court deep to the net, and this is not good for tennis, and is much more difficult to change. And once they start to play faster, or once you start to play more aggressive, of course, then you need to move and you need to play with open stance. You can do even like this footwork, or you can just move and jump from one leg to another. But this is the next stage. You don't play that fast when you learn, because when you start to play tennis, remember, you need to be consistent first, then you need to play to control balls. Let's say I want to play to the backhand, or then I want to play to the forehand. And then after consistency and control, you need to learn how to make more topspin, which usually I use topspin from the beginning, but because of the tennis grip. And only the last thing is the speed. So we cannot start with speed, so there is no reason to play with open stance when the speed of the game is too low. So if you have time, you need to use your body weight, in my opinion, against the ball, and you need to find the ball with your legs, and that's why you go easily with your closed stance, okay? And then you need to move forward to hit the ball. You have the time. Once again, once you play faster, once the ball is faster, you play more matches, is more difficult. And also about the non-dominant hand, it's really important, is like if you play high competition, or if you are more like let's say 16 or above, or even before, and you move to the side, of course you need to play with the open stance. It's also easier to recover. And also it's really important to notice that usually when you run to the side in this direction, we go with closed stance, okay? If you move in the diagonal, it's easier to go with in open stance, and if you move in the diagonal, it's easier to go in closed stance. Also, the height of the ball matters a lot. For example, let's say the ball is higher. If the ball is here, of course I go with open and then I play. If the ball is lower, I do an approach with like closed stance. So this depends a lot of things. It depends on the depth of the ball, depends on the height. And as a beginner, you don't need to focus on all of these things. Just focus on the most important thing, that is to work your footwork, and you need to understand the basics of tennis. And the basics is to start with the basic footwork, the first position, the first step, as I always mention, do the first step here, then second, and then double step, and then moving forward to the ball. And even when you move to the side, it's really important to work, like to do the first step first, and then 2, 3, 4, to run, to stop, to play, to move, and then recover. And here, of course, I say a lot of times to play and to move forward or to the side with the ball, and only after to recover. And I start teaching the closed stance, and I say this, I mentioned this on my ebook. If you read it, or if you didn't read, I truly recommend it. I try to make it as simple as possible, but I like to, once I feel like you can do 1, 2, 3, 4, stop, play, and finish, okay, or and finish, I always ask to finish like that, with your foot like in this position here, okay. And then I don't ask you to do this. What I do is I feed balls shorter, and I try to see if when the ball is shorter, if you naturally gonna fall to the ball. And once I feel that you naturally gonna fall to the ball, then I ask you to start recovering 1, 2 split, and you make the shot much simple. And of course I'm talking now about forehand, but to the backhand is exactly the same. For example, my right eye is dominant. I should play with the open stance to see the ball here, but I play many times, and until almost this year I always play with closed stance. I never even thought on that. Maybe that's the reason my backhand is not as good as my forehand, but yeah, and now this year I'm becoming a little bit more lazy as a coach, so I'm doing more close stance, and actually it's helping, but I already played a lot of years. I try to be as good as possible. I'm not number one in the world, but I'm happy with my level. I could be better, and I always try to be better. That's why I do these little changes. So now I'm trying to work a little bit more with close stance, with the open stance on my backhand, just to follow this rule and to make it simple for me, because sometimes it's easier just to make one step. And also that's one of the reasons if beginners start playing with open stance, it's a little bit more lazy, let's say. I don't want to say this word, but it's a bit lazy because you just do one step and play, while closed stance forces you to move more, to go and to recover. So you start to be more activated in the beginning of your tennis journey, and I think this is really important. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I don't know if it was clear, if I said too many important things, but all of them are important. Let me know in the comments if it was too much, if I need to make this video maybe a little bit shorter and make it more simple and more understandable. So please let me know, and I'll try to make as better as possible for the next time. So have a nice day, and see you in the next video. Bye bye. How you can improve your slice, which grip to use when you slice, and how to do it, which exercises you can do alone to get better at this shot. So the first thing is the grip, and one of the most common mistakes I see as a coach is players, maybe, I don't know about you, but closing too much the hand and like that, and using completely like a hammer grip but too close like this. And first